It's morning in Los Angeles and it's morning in America. I am your host, KC Phoenix, and this is my morning political thought. All right, I'm going to get a few side news stories out the way. I'm not reading the entire story. I just took a few cliff notes here because I don't like reading all of the stories or whatever. Just know the source for most of these Washington Times, if you want to look them up, they're definitely there. I like to take bits and pieces and then just give my opinion on it from there. But anyways, let me go ahead and get to the side news and get that out of the way. Oh yeah, thepurpleelephantshow.com, main podcasting platform, The Purple Elephant Show on Parler, Instagram, facebook.com/ The Purple Elephant Show, on Twitter, who seems to be, I don't know what's going on with Twitter right now. And I'll go into that in a second too in one of the side news stories. But on Twitter, at RealTPES. And if you're watching this on BitChute, Dailymotion, or YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. That way you will know when I upload new videos. All right, on with the side news stories. For those who are interested in the Olympics, the International Olympic Committee is confident that the Tokyo Olympics will open on July the 23rd of next year. This remains to be seen. They're worried about more or less all of the people obviously coming in and how they will maintain who is allowed to come in. Because one thing I can tell you about Japan, Japan is very funny about who comes into their country. And I'm talking about immigration, everything. Japan is very protective of its culture and anything that may damage the country itself. So I have no idea what safeguards they will have in place for people to do maybe testing with those who are going to come in the country, if they're going to require extra paperwork or what have you. They're in the process of building all of that out. They should have a more concrete plan by the end of this year or the beginning of next year. But nothing is officially solid yet, as in plan-wise for the Olympics. However, the committee is saying that they are confident it will open July 23rd of 2021. So for those of you who are into the Olympics, I'm not a big Olympics person, but for those who are, that's what's going on. So that's one of the side stories. Another side story, and this one actually shocked me, and I don't believe it. A Pew Research poll came out, which you know how I feel about polls, but a Pew Research poll came out, 70% of registered Jewish voters support Biden, compared to 27% for President Trump, which is up because in 2016, President Trump received 24% of the Jewish vote. Now, for those of you who may not know, President Trump is more popular in Israel with the Jewish people than he is in the United States. And he has always been like that. As a matter of fact, some people may not know this. When Bibi Netanyahu was running for prime minister back a long time ago, before President Trump was even running for president, Bibi Netanyahu and him have been friends for years. And Donald Trump, at the time, did a campaign ad for Bibi Netanyahu for his election, and did that before he was even running for president, before anything like that, when he was just a regular real estate mogul and on The Apprentice. So him and Bibi Netanyahu go back a long time. They've always been friends. That's why I always laugh when the media tries to bring up this narrative that President Trump doesn't like Jewish people. I'm like, do you know that he's been friend with Bibi Netanyahu for decades? So I always laugh about that stuff. And also with this poll from Pew Research, I look at it sort of like I look at the other polls. People are more than likely not telling the truth, especially with the things that have happened, especially in New York City, with what's happened with Governor Cuomo and Bill de Blasio on how they have treated the Jewish community in New York City. So I believe it's one of those situations where some of these people are not being truthful with the polls. I really, really believe that because President Trump has done so much. He's probably one of the most pro Jewish presidents in modern history with everything he's done, whether it's the moving the embassy to Jerusalem, whether it's the Golan Heights, or what have you. Also, his son is Jewish. His daughter is Jewish she converted, of course, Ivanka did. And there, there are other things that go on behind the scenes that he does to show people he is a friend of Israel, also with helping broker the peace deals between Israel and Bahrain or Israel and the UAE, and so on and so forth. And he has no problem making it clear that the United States is a friend of Israel. So when I see a poll saying that 70% of Jewish voters are supporting Biden, it's not making sense to me. It's one of those things. Please make it make sense because it's not making sense to me at all. And I honestly believe some of those people polled were either not honest or they were oversampled. I didn't get down into the nitty gritty of the polls, all the details and down in the weeds and everything. But my gut, which is usually right, tells me that either someone was lying or they were oversampled in one part or another. And that's usually what happens with these polls. All right, on to the other news. Republicans are saying they plan to subpoena the head of Twitter. Ooh, boy. All right. Twitter has suspended Kelly McEnany, White House press secretary. They suspended President Trump's official campaign account. And there was another account that was suspended, all related to this stuff with Hunter Biden coming out. Because they were saying that it was unfounded and it couldn't be verified and everything else. And they were categorizing it as, I guess, fake news. So Twitter was suspending anybody and everybody that was discussing the Hunter Biden situation that came out from the New York Post. Now, the New York Post isn't always right. However, they are right more times than not. In addition to that, the New York Post is the fourth largest newspaper in the U.S. So it isn't like this was some fly-by-night website, like the websites that were shut down by the DOJ not too long ago when I had told you they had shut down 98 websites. It's not the New York Post isn't some fly-by-night website like that, where it's being supported by a foreign entity like Iran or China or Russia or whoever. So when you have Twitter taking it upon themselves to say, oh, well, whatever the New York Post is saying, it can't be verified. We're going to go ahead and start banning accounts, suspending accounts, and taking tweets down. Which, mind you, yesterday, when I logged into my other Twitter account, which has nothing to do with politics whatsoever, my tweets that I had posted the day before yesterday were gone. They were gone. And I was like, what's going on? And when I logged in to try and tweet yesterday, I couldn't even get out a tweet. And they're saying that Twitter was down and everyone was upset. But what really stuck out to me was that my tweets from the day before yesterday, and again, my other account is not a political account. I do not mention politics whatsoever on my other account at all. So all those tweets were gone. So I don't know if that happened to other people where Twitter was just like, yeah, we're just going to pretend the last 24 hours didn't exist. Let's go ahead and scrub everything and then say it was a technical issue and then we'll start everything back up and they won't even notice the tweets that were missing or whatever. And this is just speculation on my end. I can only go by what I have seen thus far and what happened to me personally. So, but it's not making sense again. So the Congress, senators, Ted Cruz is talking about it. I believe, I forgot what other congressman or senator was talking about it, but they want to subpoena Jack Dorsey and bring him in. Let me tell you something. this isn't going to go anywhere. All it is, it's going to be show. Just like with what's happening with Amy Coney Barrett with the Supreme Court confirmation, it's all show. That's all it is. That's why I was like that. That's why I agree with Rush Limbaugh. Just vote, get it done. Let's move on. Either you're gonna vote for her or you're not. What's the deal? So, and the way I feel the same way about the Twitter situation. Either you're gonna refer him to the Department of Justice to say that something illegal has happened, because obviously Congress does not have the ability to prosecute. They only have the ability to legislate. Some people don't know that. So yeah, so they can't indict anybody. All they can do is say, hey, this looks weird. There may be some illegality here. I need for you to take this under consideration. And they'll send the letter on to the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice will look over it. If the Department of Justice determines that there's some type of possible illegality there, then they will go ahead and pursue it and start a case. Or the other option would be Section 230, which they haven't touched. And I mentioned this before. And they can't touch it right now because they don't have the House. So what's going to happen? Nothing. That's my whole point. So if nothing's going to happen, except Jack Dorsey shows up on virtual, on a virtual hearing, or he comes in with his mask and sits in front of Congress and everybody's distanced, and then they start asking the questions and getting their sound bites so it can go up on Fox News or on NBC or ABC or whatever. And then after all of that stuff happens, nothing changes. Absolutely nothing changes. It's a waste of time. Don't waste your time doing it. Move on to something else. Stop wasting people's time. Stop wasting people's money. Because regardless of whether you waste time or not, and I'm talking about Congress, you still get a check. So don't waste people's time. Don't waste people's money. Yes, we're frustrated. We know. If you get the House back, if you get the Senate and then keep the presidency, then we can go ahead and look at Section 230. Maybe something will get done, but more than likely it won't, to be honest, because I'm more than 50% sure that some Republicans are paid off through campaign contributions, where it would not be in their immediate interest to do something about Section 230. So they will just let this situation metastasize, and then it's going to be too late. And then what will happen is there won't be any Republicans. So, and that's just one of the things that will be related to my morning political thought if Trump loses the election. But on to the other story, on to the other side news story. So, town hall last night. Town hall was good. President Trump was, Trump. That's what he was. I was more interested in the young woman in the back because she was nodding her head. I was like, wait a second, is she about to break out into a praise dance or something? Because she is really feeling it over there. So I liked her in the background because at least that I'll give NBC that. I'll give NBC that. There were some people there who honestly did like the president, or honestly they came across as on the fence. It wasn't a thing of, oh, well, yeah, I'm on the fence, but I'm voting for Biden. Make that make sense again? So for what happened last night, the audience, NBC, I give credit where credit is due, and I'll begrudgingly say the audience was pretty decent. It wasn't top notch, but it was pretty, compared to how things are stacked against the president with everything being biased. Last night's audience was pretty good during that town hall. So shout out to NBC. I'll give you credit for that, begrudgingly. I think President Trump came across pretty likable. It's the same stuff. Savannah Guthrie, she was doing her thing. The whole white supremacy thing is old, President Trump is one of the worst white supremacists I've ever seen in history. I've never seen a white supremacist do what he's done. And I'm originally from the South. So I know about white supremacy. I know about the KKK. I know about neo-Nazi skinheads and all that stuff because I've seen all that stuff. And yeah, with President Trump, he is one of the worst white supremacists in history. Make it make sense. Please make it make sense. People need to do their research. They really do. They just reach too hard. But as they say, Trump derangement syndrome. I'm hoping that they will do a debate, President Trump and Biden. I'm hoping that they will do a debate, which they're supposed to, I believe, next week, possibly, or right before a few days before the election. So we'll see that going on. As for Joe Biden, I didn't watch the town hall because I don't care what Biden says. And just to swing back around to the white supremacy thing, black people, I need you to stop making white people the center of your universe. Because every time you bring up racism and all this other stuff and woe is me and it's white people's fault and everything like that, you're giving them way too much credit. You are giving them way too much credit. I don't wake up in the morning and think about what white people are doing or what white people think about me or what white people are trying to do to affect my life. I don't have the time for it. I have other things, more important, pressing things to deal with in life. And hopefully so should you. And that's for black people or any other minority that might feel the white man is keeping them down. Even though, for some reason, the most successful group in America are Asians. And Asians aren't white, even though some of them think they are, but that's another story for another day. But Asians are not white. They are a minority, and they are the most successful. Also, immigrants, people of different colors who come from this country, come to this country legally, let me repeat, legally, and make a better life for themselves and excel beyond people's imagination. So this whole thing of white people are trying to keep you down, the meetings are not happening like that. I can promise you that. White people are not checking for you like that, just like I'm not checking for them like that. I treat everybody the same. I don't care what color you are. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're Latin. I don't care if you're Asian. I treat you the same. If I'm cool with you, I'm cool with you. If I'm not, I'm not. All I ask is that you be a good person and stay in your lane and I'll stay in my lane. We'll call it grace and move on. But I'm not waking up in the morning thinking about what you're thinking about me because of your color or because of my color or because of your orientation or because of my orientation or because of your financial background or because of my financial background and so on and so forth. I don't care about that. Life is too short to be focusing on all of that. There are too many things in place. There are too many laws in place to rectify certain situations when pursued correctly. Do bad things happen? Yes, that's called life. Bad things happen in the United States. Bad things happen in any other country. Pick one. That's called life. It doesn't matter what country you're in. Bad things are going to happen from time to time. People are going to do stupid things from time to time or ignorant things from time to time. It doesn't matter. That is life. But blaming everyone else, making that your MO, life is too short. So on that part. Also, with Savannah Guthrie, I wish she would have gave the president a chance to speak more on the town hall. Part of me feels she was enjoying it. It wasn't the way it came across. I don't think she came across catty. I think that she was enjoying the sparring with President Trump. And I think he was enjoying it too, where she was going at him, but it wasn't, I don't want to say that her reasons were completely motivated by politics or what she personally believes. I think that she just enjoyed the going back and forth. There are some people like that, where if they can't have an argument with someone or if they can't debate with someone, or if there isn't some type of conflict around them, that type of energy around them, they go crazy. President Trump is one of them. President Trump, people don't realize that about President Trump too. If you really wanted to drive President Trump crazy, keep everything calm. That would drive him crazy. The chaos is what feeds him. The chaos is like, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Blob, and like everything that's thrown at it, it just absorbs. That's sort of like what it is with President Trump. Everything chaos-wise that is thrown at him, he just absorbs it. It just makes him bigger and stronger and more powerful. So if people really wanted to drive him crazy, they should have gave him peace and calmness. He might have even just done one term and left and said, hey, I'm not running for a second term. This is too boring for me. That's my personal opinion, though. Speaking of presidents, the DNC has launched a new campaign ad with former President Obama. He's talking about it's a tipping point, just like he was campaigning for Hillary and yada, 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 and all that other stuff. Look, I voted for President Obama twice. Yes, hope and change, all of that stuff. I didn't do my research then. I do a lot of research now. That's why I laugh at people when they try to tell me certain things about politics. And then I tell them some of the things I know. And then they have this blank look on their face like, wait, what? What information is that? What are you talking about? So with President Obama, or former President Obama, he is what I said before. I mentioned that before. He's that old football player. Remember in high school, that old high school football player who was really popular then, and some, like 10, 20 years later, he's at the game and they'll trot him out to wave to everybody, and then the crowd is like, yay! And that's sort of it. But outside of that, that's really his only moment to shine. That's pretty much what President Obama is. These little things are his only moment to shine. That's about it. There isn't anything alluring about him anymore. I would more than likely say a lot of people over time realized there's no there. So, for that part, on to the other and final side news story. With the Hunter Biden stuff, everyone is talking about the Hunter Biden stuff. I'm at the I don't care point. I really, really am, because I don't see anything happening. I doubt anything will happen. What's the point of talking about it? You already see Facebook and Twitter are scrubbing the information. I'm sure Google, if I'm 95% sure that if I were to dig into Google's algorithm right now, and for anybody who does a search on Hunter Biden, what's going to come up in that algorithm is the stories that are pretty much fake news saying, oh, well, this hasn't been verified, and da-da-da this and da-da-da that, and everything else. And then buried at the bottom will be all of the other stories. Let me tell you something. Rudy Giuliani went to Ukraine. He got the receipts. Rudy got the receipts. The reason Rudy went to Ukraine is when the president was being impeached over a phone call, which anybody who read the transcript, and that's the thing, I asked people, did you read the transcript? They're like, no, I didn't read the transcript. I'm like, well, how do you have an opinion about something and you haven't even read the transcript yet? Make it make sense. Read the transcript. President Trump didn't even bring up Joe Biden in the transcript. It was the president of Ukraine that brought up Joe Biden. And then it went from there. President Trump didn't even bring it up. So, and then also related to the server and with the DNC, but I'm not even going to go into that right now. My thing with this, Rudy has the receipts. Rudy has been putting all this stuff out. And when I say receipts, I'm talking about evidence. Just like also with Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck did an episode on Burisma and all of the corruption in Ukraine, breaking it down piece by piece, hardcore evidence, factual, actual evidence, breaking everything down, how it happened, and so on and so forth. This is what I'm talking about. You have all of this stuff out here. All of this stuff is irrefutable. You can't say it didn't happen. The receipts are there. Just like the video with Joe Biden talking about firing the prosecutor. The receipts are there. So why are we acting like something will happen now when we've had evidence on top of evidence on top of evidence? It isn't like with the Russia hoax where we heard about this and my wife's gardener's cousin's hairdresser's best friend said this about the Russians and they were meeting with such and such and da 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 da. We don't have all of that going on. We have actual receipts related to Ukraine. And evidence on top of evidence on top of evidence on top of evidence. And nothing has happened yet. So if nothing has happened yet, what makes you think something will happen now? It's an October surprise. Big deal. What makes you think something will happen now? Now, in Hunter Biden's defense, I will say this, because they were talking about the pictures of him smoking crack. First of all, Hunter Biden has made millions of dollars. We just found out he received $10 million just to do introductions, to introduce people. Got $10 million for that. The wife of the former mayor of Moscow gave him millions of dollars. Ukraine gave him a job that was paying $50,000 minimum a month. So what, 50 times 12, 6, so yeah, what, 6 million a year? And I'm doing quick numbers or whatever, 600,000. And then also he received fees for the $1.5 billion to manage a fund. He received $1.5 billion from China to manage a fund. Mind you, he doesn't have any expertise in oil, gas, hedge fund managing, or any of that stuff. Nada, zip, got millions of dollars. He's made a ridiculous amount of money. And they accused him of smoking crack. Crack is cheap. Hunter Biden has made too much money to ever smoke crack. He don't do that. Crack is whack, is what that is. All right, on to my morning political thought. Now, I've already told you guys that President Trump will more than likely win the election because I had a premonition about it. Just like I had a premonition about RBG. I didn't tell you guys when I had it, but I did have when I had it 3 days before she died. And with my premonition with RBG, something said to me, she's not going to be on the Supreme Court by the time the election gets here. I didn't know she was going to die, but I knew she wasn't going to be on the Supreme Court. Because when I can figure out my premonitions when something comes to me that I don't regularly think about. I don't think about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's not on my mind like that. And not that I wish any ill will. Well, I mean, I can't wish any ill will on her because she's already gone now, but not that when she was alive that I wished any ill will on her. I actually respected her. I respected how tough she was and how much of a fighter she was because she had been through a lot of stuff. And I respected that, but she wasn't on my mind like that. So when that premonition came to me and said 3 days before she had died and said, she will not be on the court by the time the election gets here, I was like, oh boy, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And 3 days later, that happened. So back to President Trump. I had the premonition that President Trump will win the election, but it will be for a reason that he does not know about and that most people will not know about when he wins the election, if my premonition holds true. My premonitions aren't always right, but they're right most of the time, which is kind of scary. I have some other premonitions as well that have come to pass. All right, on the off chance that I am wrong, let me tell you, what will happen if President Trump loses the election. Don't be surprised that after the loss, within about 1 year, mark it down. Like Sophia said on Golden Girls when she was bowling with the strike, she says before the ball even made it down the lane, she said she walked off before the ball even made it down the lane. She's like, strike, mark it down. And then she's walking off, and sure enough, it's a strike. Mark my words, within 1 year, don't be surprised if those taxes that have been under audit for almost a decade of his, suddenly the case closes. And the United States government accuses him of tax evasion. And then they attempt to make a case that that's why he ran for president to begin with, to try and put people in office to help him with the tax evasion that he started. 1 year from when the election, within 1 year from when the election closes, don't be surprised if the audit that's been going on for all these years finally comes to a close and he's accused of tax evasion. And not only will they go after him, they will go after Don Jr., they will go after Eric and everyone else. You've already seen what people in the upper echelons of government do to those they don't like. You've already seen it. General Flynn, anybody? General Flynn is still stuck in the, I don't even want to call it the justice system because this man has not seen justice yet. I'll just say General Flynn is still stuck in the system where evidence on top of evidence on top of evidence has been produced that this man is innocent. And he's been stuck in the system. And yes, President Trump has a lot of money. He makes a lot of money. But number one, regardless of how much money you make, no one has more money than the United States government. There's a reason why when the feds come after you, their conviction rate is in the high 90 percentile. Usually, I think it's like 96 or 97%. It's something like that. It's the high 90s percentile. The feds don't come after you unless they plan on getting a conviction. And when they do come after you, they have all the resources of the federal government. In addition to that, when the feds come after you, if they can link the money that you have related to something that they view as criminal, then guess what? They can freeze your assets. And if they freeze your assets, how can you pull on your money to fight your case? Don't be surprised. Now, the death of free speech and all that stuff, that will, of course, that's going to happen regardless. Because Republicans can blame themselves for that one. And when I say Republicans, I mean the ones that are in office, the ones that are in positions of quote unquote power that had the opportunity to do something, but they didn't do it. And as I've said before, when you stop fighting for what you want, you start to get a lot of what you don't want. So that's on them. And when they fade in the distance and become a memory, they'll look back and think, well, wow, maybe we should have fought harder like President Trump fights. Maybe we should have done more instead of acquiescing to the other side or selling our seats to the highest bidder and focusing more on patriotism and doing what's right for the country instead of doing what's right for self. I would rather someone be a one-term person in the House or a one-term person in the Senate that stood on what they believe and their principles than stay in office for years on top of years or decades on top of decades doing what they don't believe, selling themselves and pushing agendas they've never believed in, and doing things they know in the long term will hurt America as a country. But that's the difference between a leader and a follower. And if the tower crumbles, that is when you will see who were the true leaders and who were the true followers when that happens. But as for President Trump, if he loses the election, 1 year from the loss, within 1 year, mark it down. Don't be surprised if that audit that's been happening for all these years magically clears up. It just magically clears up. And he's accused of tax evasion. So that's all I have for my morning political thought today. ThePurpleElephantShow.com, main podcasting platform. The Purple Elephant Show on Instagram, Parler, Facebook.com/The Purple Elephant Show, at RealTPES on Twitter. If you're watching this on BitChute, Dailymotion, or YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button followed by the notification bell. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. It always means a lot to me when I glance at the numbers and I see the people in different countries, especially Ireland, who have been listening to the show. It means a lot to me than you'll ever know. Until next time, be blessed.